Hey there, you're listening to the Not So Breakfast Show with Sasha and Ish. All right, you are listening to the Not So Breakfast Show. This is the podcast for leadership and career development, and today we're discussing pay rises, tips, tricks, and techniques to position you for more remuneration in your role. Today on the show, we're going to be giving you some great advice, at least better advice than this.
But I basically just used to go to the boss and say, the person I'm working with is shit. I do all the work, and I've just found out you're paying them $2 extra an hour more than me. This isn't fair. And I probably cried, and then I got a pay rise.
You go. Technique number one. And discover some other truth bombs.
And the reason I'm not taking the lead on this is because I don't think I've done it very successfully. and I think you probably have.
You just ran out of people to sleep with.
Pretty much. I wasn't sleeping, all right?
But anyway, that's the show. Let's get it. All right, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, and this is the one about how to ask for a pay rise. How do you get paid what you're worth, or how do you get more money, or just how do you position yourself to get some more, well, I've said money, to get some more income, remuneration, whatever you call it. Let's talk about pay rises, Sash.
Yeah, let's. And it's a hugely topical issue at the moment because cost of living is going up around the world. It's harder and harder to find employees. So if you are politically on the left wing, you're saying the reason you can't get good staff is because you don't pay enough. If you're on the right wing, you're going, how can we possibly afford to pay people more and keep our boats? So it's kind of like there's this tension in the world. And I just think if there's going to be pay rises, then I want the listeners of the Not So Breakfast Show to be getting them all. So
definitely.
Let's just go, whether it's in good times or in bad times, we need to understand what are some of the tips and tricks to be set up for success when you ask for a pay rise.
Yeah, and I think if you're listening to this show, you are probably the type of person that's wanting to develop through your career. But I think it's important maybe at the start just to talk about the different types of roles and the difference between what a business is prepared to pay for a job to be done versus what they are prepared to pay you as an individual to do the job.
Oh, explain that. Say that again. That's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky. I'll say it again. So what a business is prepared to pay to get a job done versus what they are prepared to pay an individual to do the job. Now, there are just some jobs out there and they are just going to pay what they pay, and the business is prepared to pay that much for someone to do the role.
So what kind of things are you talking about?
We're talking about, your base level reception job. It might be that you're a cleaner and the business is prepared to pay a certain amount for that job to be done. And if you were wanting to look for opportunity to get more money, you would probably have to transition into a different role or higher up. Because what we do know is that as skills develop and as responsibility increases, then pay starts to increase. But if it's a base level job, it might just always pay what it's going to pay.
Gotcha. So if it's, and I mean, there's lots of discussion too around what does a low skilled worker mean, right? So anyone who's worked in a busy kitchen knows how highly skilled it is to get all those meals out at once, but it's not a job that necessarily pays a lot. So we're talking about if there's roles where the pay rates are pretty much fixed, then what you need to do is join your union and get your union to advocate for you, because that's where the level will be set. But if you're wanting to move into roles where you doing an excellent job can be rewarded, that's what we're talking about. Because for some jobs, it doesn't matter how well you do them, the company is not going to pay any more for that particular role. Now, we don't make the rules. We're just telling you what the rules are. And so make sure that you are playing the right game.
Yeah, definitely. And it's probably good at this point to maybe just explain a little bit around how banding might work. So some jobs, they just pay at minimum wage, and that's what a business is prepared to pay. Now, whether that's right or wrong, again, we don't make the rules. Then there'll be some jobs that have a banding to them. And banding is where you might start in a role at around 80% of what they think that could be worth if you were paid at 100%. So they start you a little bit lower because there might be some skill development, some training and stuff that needs to be put in place. Then it might actually go up to 120%. So they are prepared to pay a little bit for overperformance or a little bit for developing you further than the role would normally go because of the value they get out of it. But you basically sit within a band, and that top end is the top end, the 80% is the bottom, and your movement throughout that will be based on training, on being able to complete things, on competency within the job, or delivering above and beyond what the job capability is.
Yeah, and lots of big organisations have these types of bands. So if you are a junior doctor, not a good example because junior doctors in the public system, you get paid X. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether you're good or bad, you're going to get the same amount of money. But a junior doctor is paid in a band range that's different from the next level of doctor, that's different from the surgeon, that's different from the chief surgeon. And those things are pretty hierarchical. And it's the same in, say, accounting firms, for example. You'll have a whole lot of different levels of roles, and each level you move up, you can be paid within a band. But once you get to the top of that band, you're not going to move unless you change levels within the organisation. So I think that the understanding of banding is important, but you've got to know the organisation that you are in, how does the pay structure work? And understand that so you know what it is that you are aiming for, and you know whether you should be looking to move sideways, moving up, or looking to move out.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes those levels are based on the requirement of the role. So if you are told what to do and you are following instructions, that is always going to pay at a certain level. If you are the person that is now passing on those instructions to somebody else and responsible for other people, then again, that's going to pay at a slightly higher level. If you're starting to get into you are training other people in how to do the task and pass that information on, then that is going to pay at another level. And if you're then starting to get up to strategy and actually implementing ideas, that's going to pay at another level as well. And I don't know if that's useful for people's frame, but I think people often make the mistake of thinking they should just pay me more because I'm great at my job and I do such a good job. And I want you to do a good job, but that you doing a good job is positioning you hopefully for future opportunity, but just understand you may be at the top of the band or the business is only prepared to pay what it pays. So the question I do want to ask, we'll get into some strategies around this, but why do you want a pay rise in the first place? And I think it's an important question to ask because remuneration will not fix your issues that you have with your job. So are you just wanting to be paid more because you don't like your job? And if you don't like it, you may as well be paid as much as you can. The fact that you don't like it will not go away. All that will happen is you will get a bit more money. You'll be satisfied for and I'm going to say a very short moment in time, and then that will become the new status quo, your new normal. But the problem hasn't gone away. You still hate the job, your boss is still an arsehole, you don't like your teammates, and you don't like what you do.
I'm just laughing because you and I have had situations in the past where we've gone, okay, we're going to do this workshop for $2,000. And then we get so sick of doing the workshop that we go, okay, we're only going to do it if it's now $4,000. And then we say, oh, no, you would have to pay me $10,000 to do that workshop again. And then we eventually get to the point where we go, if you offered me $20,000, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so that kind of tells you how you feel about the job.
Yeah, that's right. If it just meets a baseline, it's never going to satisfy you. So I want to get more money. I love what I do. I am positioning to develop in this business, move forward, whatever it is. A mistake that you can make when you're looking for a pay rise is that you just try to plead your case. So you actually just go in and you write a list of all the things that you do. And I made this mistake when I was really early on in my career. I wanted to get a pay rise.
Did you?
I did.
I don't know this story. I love new stories.
Yeah. So I wanted to get a pay rise. And I said, look, I would like to get a pay rise and I would like to go to this. And they said to me, look, well, make a list of the rationale and all of this kind of stuff and come back to us and tell us why.
Classic delaying tactic by the employer.
Yeah. And, make me do all the work. So that was cool. So I went away and I thought about it. I wrote down all the stuff and everything. I made a massive list of everything. And then I went back and presented it to them. And they just said, no, this is just a list of what you do now for what we pay you. they were going, what are you going to do for this extra money that you're wanting to be paid? And it was the classic example. We're prepared to pay this much for you to do the job. There's no denying you were doing the job better than anybody else, but the job is the job. So what they were trying to do, and just wasn't very explained very well, but what they were trying to do is get me to step up and look at other opportunities or other ways to add value. And that's really where we should be spending a lot of our time in the discussion today.
Yeah, how do we add value that means we are worth more and can be paid more? And how do we go about proving that and asking for that? I mean, I think it's interesting what you just said about how you're doing the job better than other people, because I know lots of the pay rises that I've asked for in my career have been because I found out what other people were getting paid to do the same job much worse than me. And I think I've told you in my early days of Les Mills, it's a wonder they didn't call me the assassin. I had no insight into my own behaviour. It was my first job, but I basically just used to go to the boss and say, the person I'm working with is shit. I do all the work, and I've just found out you're paying them $2 extra an hour more than me. This isn't fair. And I probably cried, and then I got a pay rise.
There you go. Technique number 1.
This is not recommended.
Find out what other people have been paid, and then cry.
Yeah, and no one liked me.
That's one angle, and now we're going to look at an angle where you keep your friends.
Well, yeah, somebody from the old days at Les Mills is going to listen to this and they're going to say, there was the small matter of the fact that you were sleeping with the boss. I'm like, look, that is just additional detail that no one needs to dwell on. Why do you keep taking us back to the past?
I don't know how that always comes up, Sash. Because if you get this right, you can actually position for a pay rise outside of what you would call a normal pay cycle.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
The when to ask.
Yeah, so when to ask is there is probably a normal pay rise cycle that's happening. Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to the pay cycle. One is the advantage is there because it's on their radar and they're thinking about putting people up, okay? And then how much of the bucket of cash are we prepared to give to this person to move them up? The disadvantage is everybody is probably in that discussion, so there's only a certain amount of cash to go around. So sometimes positioning for a pay increase outside of a pay cycle can have its advantages if you are in the type of position that is open for that or the type of business that is open for that. But I think it happens more than people think it does. And I think that is a really interesting way to position and have a discussion around what performance would they need to see from you in order for you to be considered for a pay rise at this time.
Great question.
Yeah, because what you're then doing is you're not just going, hi, I'm Ish, I'm really good at my job, can I have a bit more money, please? And putting out your bowl like Oliver. You're literally going, I don't know why I went to Oliver.
Please, sir, can I have some more? Please, sir.
But you're really kind of going, okay, I get the fact that, money is paid for performance and value. So what do you need me to focus on? What would shift the dial that you would be prepared to remunerate me more than I'm getting now if you saw this put into place? And if I was to succeed, what might that remuneration look like? Because you don't want to do all the work and realize it's only an extra 50 cents an hour.
It's quite a lot of money, 50 cents an hour.
Oh, that's true. Sorry. Well, I've been watching my daughter get her pay rises through McDonald's. And because they have a really set structure, but it's like 30 cents here and another 20 cents for this. But full credit to them, it's all there. It's transparent. It's like, if you want to move up, you do this, you do this, you do this, you learn fries, you do that. You become
Faster fries. Faster fries.
Actually, I'm going to give my daughter a bit of a shout out because she did something amazing the other day. So there was a competition at McDonald's and it was to sell the most apple pies. And they said,
who ate all the pies?
They said if the person that sells the most apple pies is going to win $100. And it was kind of like, all over. I think it was like probably all over New Zealand. Like, it was a big thing. So Sam just starts selling apple pies. Like everyone who goes through the drive-through, they had to actually tell her to stop selling them because they were running out. So she, in one shift, sold 109 apple pies.
Wow.
And what to put that in perspective, the person that came second sold 38. So
go Sammy. Yeah,
so
go Sammy, you're our hero.
what did you do? Were they on special? And she goes, no. And we were just promoting them. And I said, so what did you say? She goes, oh, everyone that went through the drive-through, she just said, hey, we're doing a promotion on apple pies at the moment. Would you like me to add one to your order? And people just started saying yes. Now, it wasn't cheaper or anything. She just said, we were just promoting them. So they gave her $100 cash, which was a pretty cool prize,
That is super cool. And one of our stores, our top seller, we were selling some reusable coffee cups. And her approach was to say to people, it's really tough for me at the moment. There's a competition at work. And if I sell more of these, I'll get $500.
Nice.
Could you buy one? And it worked. And I'm like, yep, okay, that's good. But guilting our guests is not part of coffee culture strategy. And what are you going to say next time there's a competition?
Yeah.
I think Sam's strategy is much more sustainable. I honestly thought you were going to say that she said to people, hi, do you want a pie? Because the power of suggestion is like that. But if you take that example in the pay rise, next time they do a promo, she could now say to them, okay, I'm going to go for it, but I want more than $100.
Yeah.
How many pies would I have to sell for you to give me a bonus of $200? Double the bonus, set me the target.
Yeah, and she can put her hand up and go, remember me?
Remember me? I'm Pie Girl.
Another way that you could position for a pay increase or more remuneration is don't think about the role you do now, but think about the role that you could do. Is there another role within your company that pays at a higher level? So remember those kind of levels we talked about. And could you train up to be a manager? Could you position or train up to get into another role? Or could you just identify a current problem that sits within the business that you could solve? And how much is it worth for the business for you to solve that?
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-Minute Presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-Minute Presenter program.
And that's thinking about what value you're adding over and above what you're being paid on an hourly rate.
That's right.
So if this problem is an inefficiency problem, so the company's spending far too much on rubbish removal, for example, and you say, actually, I could solve that rubbish removal problem. What's that worth? And that's worth a lot more than perhaps your hourly rate. And it may even be that what you pick up in a strange kind of way is like a project or a special contract where you say, I appreciate there's no room to move my hourly rate, or that my hourly rate's only ever going to move up 30, 50 cents an hour. What I'd like to do is I'd like to take on extra projects where I get things fixed and done, and you could contract that. Because organisations sometimes are really happy to pay you extra to do extra work, but they can't make that your permanent new rate because that mucks up all of the banding. And so that, there's lots of ways that you can think about. And it's not just about saying, how do I get more money? It's actually, how do I get more from my job?
That's right. Absolutely.
That might be something that you want us to talk about a little bit later, is it's not just money that brings us job satisfaction, right? But right now, in terms of asking for more money, one of the things you've talked about is when to ask, talked about what kinds of things to ask for, make sure it's about future focus and it's about value. But how do you actually have the conversation? Like, what do you say? And the reason I'm not taking the lead on this is because I don't think I've done it very successfully. and I think you probably have.
You just ran out of people to sleep with.
Pretty much. I wasn't sleeping, all right?
One of the things I've probably done quite well to position into either opportunities that paid a little bit more or to get more remuneration was definitely that solve a problem approach. And one of the things that I learned really early on in my career is if you're training a skill, you get much more than if you're just doing the skill. And so being able to have the skill set of passing on information, being able to educate, being able to teach, definitely positions you as more value to a business. Because if we look at value, if I could take you out of a business and then replace you with someone tomorrow and they could pick up the job. That's only ever going to go so far. But if I took you out of a business and there was a massive gap, that it would now take 6 months to backfill that position because there is intellectual property, there's competency, there's training, there's a whole lot of stuff that you hold. You have a talent of being able to pass on information and train information. That will pay 10 times more often than if you could just do the skill itself. And both of us have, we've both positioned our entire careers on that ability to train and pass on information.
I think one of the things that's interesting to think about also, if you're thinking about an approach, is if you're in a really decent organisation, what they will be doing is checking what the market's paying for your roles. But much smaller companies often can't do that, and so they lose touch with what the going rate is. So it can be worthwhile ringing around people in your industry, try and share information with others to say, what's this role worth? Because I know when somebody does leave an organisation and you go out to the market and the people you interview say, oh, well, I'm going to do it for $120,000, and you go, oh, that's quite a lot more than what we've been paying. And you realise in a small organisation that you have lost touch with where the market is. So if you are the employee in that instance, you can say, hey, look, it's not that I want to leave. It's just that I know if I go somewhere else, I'm going to get more money. I don't want to go somewhere else. And I know if I did go somewhere else and you brought someone in, you'd have to pay them more money. So how about I stay because I love it, but you need to sort out getting to where the market is.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes that jumping around different jobs and opportunities when you're first starting out is kind of a good thing, because you're exposing yourself to different businesses, to different ideas, to different concepts. You're getting new skills. Probably the way that I've done it and stayed in one industry and one business for a long time, that's not an easy path to do, as opposed to actually jumping in, grabbing some skill sets from different businesses along the way. I've just happened to be able to do it because I've swapped into different roles within a business and done it that way.
And I think there's very few, if you think there's very few people that can do that because it's a numbers game. So if you say within the Les Mills group that you've been involved with, there were opportunities over your career lifetime for 3 people to do that. If you weren't one of those 3, then you just get stuck. So you have to move outside of that particular company to expand your earning potential. And that's okay. That's not disloyalty. That's just saying there's only a certain number of people that can be in positions of responsibility.
So let's pick up on what you said before around the other things other than money that could be part of this. So the first one is, could you do the same job but for less hours? So the business might be prepared to pay X and you're kind of at the top of that. Let's say you're at that 120% band. Could you free up a day to side hustle something else, and would they be prepared to do that? If they could understand that, it's an exchange of not just time for money, it's an exchange of your ability for money, that could be a way for you to, in theory, be earning more because you're doing it in less time and free up time to be working on something else.
And free up time for your family, or free up time for whatever it is that you want to do. What we know about productivity, quote unquote productivity, is that lots of people are doing their job that they are responsible for and have outcomes for within 30 hours a week. And the other 10 hours, they're just kind of pretending to be busy. So you could get far more satisfaction as an employee if you were using those 10 hours to do something. And you may, in fact, also be more motivated and more engaged in the 30 hours that you are at work because you're not having to pad it out.
Yeah. Could you also go for more flex, like the ability to maybe work from any location or work more online? Or... No,
you have to work from the office.
You have to work. You've got to sit down.
If I can't see you, how do I know whether you're working?
Sash, it's so old school.
So old school, right?
Yeah.
And how ironic that during the pandemic, companies said, hey, everybody, you can't come into the office, but that's fine because you can work from home. Working from home is awesome. You can't just all do nothing because you can't come to the office. You have to work. Now the pandemic's over. You can't work from home. You've got to come into the office. And people, quite logically, are going, that makes no sense.
No.
Make up your mind. Either I can work from home or I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Another one might be to look at increasing the benefits that could come with a job. So if you don't have a car park, could you get a car park?
Name badge. Can I have a name badge?
Yeah, you have a name badge, you'd feel more valued.
Business cards. I want a business card.
Sasha number 3.
Thank you.
Spells incorrectly because the last Sasha left. But yeah, increasing the benefits package could be a way. Is there stuff that they could bring in that doesn't cost them extra but actually is of more benefit to you? And
or costs them extra but they get it cheaper because of the buying power of that organisation, right?
Yeah,
Get me some
definitely.
medical insurance. Pay for my gym membership.
You could look at bonuses. Again, if there was something like you said, like we were talking about with Sam, maybe you could set a target for the next promotion, but look for opportunities within that, because often businesses are willing to pay X amount for an extraordinary performance at a moment in time. If you work in sales especially, that is one of those things. Could you stretch the targets a little bit further maybe than you have done in the past, and then what would that be worth to the business?
Faster fries, apple pies. So when you do go in to ask, one of the things that you've got to be prepared for is give your boss a heads up that what you'd like to do is discuss your performance and discuss the way that you are paid. Let them know in advance so that you don't just bolt into their office and go, hey, mate, gives a rise, that you've actually prepared them. If you've got some information that you can send them in advance, that's a really useful thing to do. Lay your case. Sit down and discuss it with them. Be really clear that you're not using elements of emotional blackmail, that you're just saying this is where the situation is. Don't threaten to leave if you're not prepared to leave, because the whole time, if it's a work environment that you enjoy and love, you want to make sure that you are continuing to strengthen the relationship regardless of the outcome. So regardless of what your employer says, as a result of your interaction, are they now clearer on what it is that will make you happy and leads to high performance for you? And are you clearer on what you will need to do in order to get more money? You want to come out with greater clarity, greater commitment, and greater confidence in each other, not less. So because you are the one that's starting the conversation, think through what all of those bits might look like.
Hey, so I'm reading the book at the moment, Sash. Good book, on the go.
Amazing.
I know. It's Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights.
I saw that when I was in the airport just recently. I was in London last week. Do you like how I did that?
Oh,
Yeah, I was in London last week. But I saw that book and I just, it's had some really great reviews. Are you enjoying it?
I'm really enjoying it. It's basically, his autobiography, just basically recapping through his life events and how he kind of got to where he is. But man, some of the stuff he's been through is pretty crazy. Yeah, it is. I'm really enjoying it. So if you're looking for a good read, something you can just pick up and binge for a bit, that's what I'm recommending. But the thing I want to know about, Coldplay.
Can I tell you that going to Coldplay at Wembley has been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Chris Martin as a performer gives so much to the audience. The staging, the lighting, the fireworks, the singing, the messaging. It was a beautiful experience and I feel incredibly blessed to have gone. But in a kind of role reversal, you're reading a book. I've got a movie for you.
Oh, okay.
So this is interesting.
Yep.
You know, Idris Elba, is that how you say his name? He was pitched to be perhaps the new James Bond.
Ooh.
He's a very, very handsome black actor who's delissimo. So he's in this movie that's called Beast, and it's about a lion that attacks these people that are on safari. So like this scary CGI lion, right? So he plays the dad role and he's got 2 daughters. And so one of the guys that's in my Harvard class, his daughter is one of the stars of the movie.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty exciting. Manny Halley, it's his daughter that has this role, which is amazing. So I'm super excited about seeing the movie. It's got some good reviews and then some mixed reviews, as you would expect from a film that has a CGI lion attacking people for like an hour and a half. But the funny thing about it was that Idris Elba, his daughter auditioned to play his daughter in the movie.
Okay.
And he didn't give her the role because he said the chemistry was off.
Brilliant.
And so my mate Manny, his daughter has got good chemistry with not her dad, and so she's in that movie. So look out for it. It's called Beast.
All right, good stuff. There's some watches, there's some reads. Get on it.